Today I'm going to show you how to do GUI programming. This is a series of videos that probably about 3, in which we will build a very basic calculator. Okay, so the first thing is I have a little class called GUICalc.java. So in order to create components here, I need to import javax.swing.star for now. And in order to, that's in order to create components. So let's create some components. We will build a public class called GUI calculator, GUI calc. This text editor, you can use any text editor you like. So let's create a main method here. Public static void main string args. And here we'll create, so the first thing for a GUI application is to create the main window. And in Java Swing or in Java GUI paradigm, those windows are called JFrames. So we're going to create a JFrame main window. It'll be a new JFrame, and we pass some title to this. So this will be simple calculator. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to set the size of this thing. Main window dot set size, and we'll say it's on 250 pixels by 130 pixels, for example. So it's a little bit of a rectangle, and then we will actually say main window dot set visible is true. Okay, so we'll compile this and run it. Now when we run it, you'll see that we have a little window here called simple calculator. Whoops. Simple calculator here. Okay, that's all it is. It's just a window. Now if we close it, okay, the application, you'll notice that it's still under execute. We just closed a window. We have not closed the application. So in order to tell it that we want to close the application when we close the window, okay, and there are reasons for this. I mean, you closing a window doesn't necessarily mean that you will want to close the application, but in our case it will mean that. So we have to set the default behavior here. Main window set default close operation, and then you just say jframe dot exit on close. If you hit this line, then when we run the application, what's going to happen is that here we have our calculator. Don't mind this window that comes up here. Here you have a calculator, and if you close it, then the application closes. It says program exited. Okay? It's just a little console there. So here we have a basic application. Now we can add stuff to it, right? So for example, there's a component called JButton, and we'll call this button plus, for example. It's going to be a new JButton with the symbol plus in it. Okay, so we've added a new JButton, and then we'll add a 2 buttons, right? JButton plus minus equals new JButton minus. Now we have JButtons, but we haven't added them to the calculator. So to add it to the main window, we say main window dot add the button plus, and then we say main window dot add the button minus. We compile it and run it. Now what we see here is that we have one huge button in the middle, and it's only a minus. Okay, so let's try to find out what happened there. What happens is we added plus and then we added minus, but the window doesn't know how to add this button. Okay, so it adds a button plus that uses the whole window, and then on top of that it adds a button minus that uses the whole window. That's pretty useless. What we need to do is to organize this into some layout. Okay, and one way of organizing layouts is to organize what's called J-panels. J-panels are like little windows that that have a default layout that we're going to use. You can read more on layouts on your own. Google it up. But we're going to use the default layout, which is stacking items next to each other to the left. So get an item, float it to the left, stack the next one to the right of it, to the right of it, to the right of it. When you get to the end of the window, then start with the second row of elements. Okay, that's the layout of the basic layout of a J-panel. You can change that, okay, but we're not going to cover that today. So we'll do J-panel. We're going to create a J-panel panel. Will be a new J-panel. This is basically a container where I'm going to put all my elements, and then I will just place that container with the layout on top of the window, and that should actually do the trick. So we're going to have a button that we're going to complete this by adding another button here, J-button clear. It's going to be a new J-button, and usually that has a C in it. Okay, so clear plus minus, and then we need a text field where to put the numbers, right? And there are those things, and these are called J text field. Let's call it input, new J text field, and we'll just put a 0 here because that's usually what happens, what shows up in a calculator. Then we have our J-panel, and then we're going to start adding things in the order that we want it to appear. So panel add, first I'm going to add the input field, right? Because that's going to be the first thing you see. And after that input, we're going to add the buttons. So first, how about clear? Add clear, panel.add plus, panel.add minus. Now we have everything laid out. First there should be a text input, then a button clear, then a button plus, then a button minus in the panel. So then we're ready to say main window dot add panel, and we're adding the panel. Let's compile this and see what happens. Okay, so we have our calculator. Here's our text field that we can barely write on it. And here are our buttons. Okay, laid out one, then the next one, then the next one. The next one didn't fit, so it was bumped to the next line. Although I can always resize this. Okay. All right. So when I resize in some Java implementations, this will resize to whatever constants are there. But the good thing about this is that we can actually set the size of this thing. So in the JText field, instead of initializing with a string, I'm going to initialize it with an int. That's the number 20, in this case, the number of columns that it will have. So let's compile it and execute it. And we have a much better calculator with the buttons here. Now my calculator doesn't do anything yet. That will be the topic of the next video.